Good evening, San Diego. I'm Chief Meteorologist Carlene Chavis, and thank you for tuning in for your CBS 8 Plus weather update. Unfortunately, it's another day under Santa Ana wind conditions, and then also talking about fires breaking out across the county. We had one fire that broke out earlier this afternoon. That was in La Jolla area right along Gilman. And then we also had another one that broke out roughly around the same time, and that one was in Otay Mesa. The one that was in La Jolla was quickly put out. Now, we did have some gusts that were picking up in the teens around that time, and so that was kind of working against firefighters. Also really dry conditions, but a lot of dry available fuel was out there, a lot of dry brush. The main focus tonight is the fire that is burning on Otay Mountain. So we are looking at that from our Mount Soledad camp. You can still see active flames, a lot of smoke that is in the area. And because these winds are out of the east, that's pushing towards the west. And so some of you are reporting smelling a strong odor of smoke in that area. So moving in towards Otay Mesa, also talking about Bonita, Chula Vista, you are being impacted, stretching all the way to the South Bay with that smoke. So a smoke advisory has been issued because of the Border 2 fire. Now that will continue all the way through tomorrow morning, and some of that smoke and those particulates making it a little bit closer towards the ground level, and that's why that smell is intensifying. That fire is still burning for tonight, pushing that smoke towards the west, and so you're advised to limit your outdoor activities, especially if you suffer from upper respiratory issues. Also closing windows because we do have some smoke that's being reported in the air and that strong odor in the South Bay. So we're talking about the particulate matters that are also in that smoke. So not just talking about the smoke, but also particulate matters as it continues to burn. So if you can basically limit your outdoor activities or even wearing a mask, you're advised to do so because of the air quality with this fire that continues to burn for tonight. We are still under the red flag warning. Now, we did have that high wind warning that expired at 6 p.m. this evening, but the red flag warning will continue through tomorrow morning and expires at 10 a.m. We have had some low humidity values. Most of the county was in single digits for today, even for La Jolla, where we had that fire that broke out earlier today. So still with those low humidity values, only minor recovery across the inland valleys and the mountains for tonight, and that takes us into the start of our Friday. So we're still holding on to a weather impact alert day as we go through this period. And then we're talking about calmer conditions at least by Friday afternoon before onshore flow starts to pick up with a storm system closing in. Our peak wind gusts with this last round. So if you remember, we had the high wind warning start at 6 a.m. and it went for a 12-hour period today. During that time frame, we had some pretty strong wind gusts. Sill Hill at 91 miles per hour. That is a typical wind-prone spot, whether it's offshore or onshore in our local mountains, and that's near Julian. Now with that, it's also the second time we've seen the highest wind gusts in our county for Sill Hill. Earlier this week, we had 102 as a wind gust, as we did have the high wind warning that was in effect, and that was on Monday night. So still talking about gusty winds in our forecast, but those conditions have calmed down. We've been talking about that for the past few days. We still have a breeze that's out there, but those winds are not strong enough to continue the high wind warning. We also had some gusts in the 60s today for Alpine and for Black Mountain. Poway was at 37 miles per hour with the peak wind gusts earlier today. It also led to warmer than usual temperatures for another day. West of the mountains, widespread 70s. We even had 80s popping up for Carlsbad, for Vista, and the same for Fallbrook. We also had 77 degrees for La Mesa, for Miramar, and for downtown. But today, two cities in particular, well, we're talking about the record heat. Well, you felt it if you stepped outside. You had 76 degrees as a tie today, but that was for Chula Vista with the record heat. Tied the previous record set on this day back in 2013. And then for Vista, second day in a row with those 80s making more of a mark. So those 80s, yesterday was in the 80s, today was in the 80s, 81 degrees, broke the previous record by 1 degree set on this day back in 1968. So warmer than usual temperatures for the forecast through tomorrow. And then we're going to take a big dip with those temperatures, all because of an area of low pressure moving in, bringing in the strongest winter storm that we've had so far this season. So that's what the projections are going with, especially with some of these rainfall totals and even the snow snow that we are anticipating in the forecast from Sunday and Monday. So our rain chances go up as that storm system does approach. We start to have it developing by maybe a isolated shower or two in the afternoon hours on Saturday, but it's late Saturday night through Tuesday that we hold on to chances for this wet weather. So the most favorable day looks to be on Sunday. Also on Sunday, looking at a chance for some thunderstorms. You're also looking at chances for isolated thunderstorms west of the mountains and across the mountains by Monday, and then also looking at that slight chance we could have a lingering shower or two, and that would be on about Tuesday morning before we dry out. Now, when we look at rainfall projections, I always say this: they're subject to change, and also these are just the initial ones that are coming out, so it could go down or it could go up over the next couple of days. But during the period of late Saturday night through early Tuesday morning, these are some of the projections. So about 1 inch to 1.5 inches for Escondido. Also for Oceanside, seeing that for Miramar. Seeing more than 1/2 inch, could see upwards of about 1 inch during this time period for downtown. Also talking about some measurable rainfall across the desert. So about 1/10 of an inch to maybe a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch of rainfall. We have not seen numbers like this for quite some time. The last time we even had 1 inch of rainfall, that was back in March of last year. So it's been quite some time, and on top of that, we've had areas where we've had fires breaking out. So burn scars are going to be an issue potentially in the forecast over the next few days. Also looking at that north of us in the LA area, because burn scars, they do not absorb water at a fast rate or a good rate either. It actually slows it down. So a lot of that becomes runoff. We generally tell you wait 72 hours to get into the ocean after a rainstorm. And that's because you get a lot of that pollution making its way out to our water. So that looks to be an issue as well, as we are looking at the potential for maybe even some flooding, especially because we could have those thunderstorms. So some of these totals could actually be a little bit higher or it could be lower. Just depends on where we start to get some of those trailing thunderstorms more favorable on Sunday as well as Monday. Talking about Sunday and Monday and even into early Tuesday morning, we have a winter storm watch that has been issued by the National Weather Service because this is going to be a cold system. So temperatures going about 10 to 20 degrees below seasonal, but that's also going to bring down that snow level. So heavy snow is possible, slippery roads out there. Maybe even some reduced visibility out on the roadways as we have that snow level coming down. So really making a big impact on Monday morning, but seeing those chances right there with the heavy snow being possible across our mountains. Here are some of the totals that the National Weather Service is suggesting. Maybe even a foot of snow for Palomar Mountain. Also some snow, some lighter snow across Julian, and for Mount Laguna about 4 to 6 inches. So that snow level is going to start off about 5,000 feet, and then from Sunday night into Monday come down to about 3,500 feet. Over the next 7 days, we are still locked into Santa Ana wind conditions. The breeze will still be there, just not strong enough to keep the wind alert going, but we also have a lot of dry air because it's been so gusty over the past few days. So still with the single digits for relative humidity values through tomorrow morning. We have that red flag warning. It will expire at 10 a.m. and then calmer conditions for the rest of the day. Widespread 70s west of the mountains for our temperatures for Friday. Then we get into widespread 50s for daytime highs, and that is going to be on Sunday through Tuesday as we have this winter storm moving through, and then we dry out by about Wednesday of next week. We're looking at a weather impact alert day because of Santa Ana winds for the mountains through tomorrow morning. Then you get a little bit of a break, and then you gear up for the winter storm. And so that brings in a chance for that snow, heavy snow being possible because of that winter storm watch, which most likely will turn into a warning about 24 hours out from Sunday. So roughly, I think it was saying about roughly about 6 a.m. on Sunday morning, we could see that being a warning over the weekend, and that would be in the early morning hours on Saturday. So I went ahead and put weather impact alert days from Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday to reflect that winter storm watch, which potentially could turn into a warning as we get closer. Cold air out there in the 40s for daytime highs, getting away from those 60s that you'll feel tomorrow for the desert. You're also looking at a chance for some wet weather during that time period, just a little bit lighter, but still it's been a while since that's happened, and we're looking at those 60s and 50s returning for daytime highs. I hope you have a great night, and thanks for tuning in.